Yeah, hey, Lauren and Steve. Well, you can see just how massive this complex is here for bandwidth off Edwards Mill Road. You see, it's pretty much an entire campus, just like you would see from those big tech companies in Silicon Valley. Obviously, really trying to make it home for those hundreds of in-person workers they have here at their headquarters. But they're also trying to have more flexibility for remote workers. That's why they made that decision and why experts say it's a sign of things to come. In the heart of Research Triangle Park, Boxyard RTP at lunchtime is booming with tech workers like Doug, who just moved from San Francisco.
I definitely like having some type of in-office environment, just to meet up with people and have that socialization.
In a post-COVID world of remote and hybrid work, some simply enjoy just being back in the office.
You get to meet the team, you get to put faces to the names and build your relationship with the team and other team members also.
It's the same setup behind the tech startup Bandwidth near PNC Arena, finishing up their massive headquarters complete with a basketball court, a Montessori school, and walking trails. It's now home to 750 local jobs. But now, after expanding globally, the company announcing it's walking away from a $32 million incentive from the State Commerce Department that would have required 1,100 local workers. The reason? In a letter, the company telling the state, quote, "As we evaluate our business objectives, we believe the company's withdrawal from the grant will give us greater flexibility to drive thoughtful workplace planning along with our North Carolina growth strategy." That flexibility likely means more remote workers, something NC State Emeritus Professor Dr. Michael Walden says is likely here to stay.
Packages are going to have to reflect the new realities of businesses, particularly in the tech sector, where remote work is going to be a bigger deal.
Walden says while yes, workers outside the state aren't spending their salaries here in North Carolina, having the companies themselves here is still a boon to the economy. And the state could also lower the amount of money that it spends on incentives if it's not entirely tied to the number of jobs.
Bottom line here, I think this is certainly in no way negative or devastating or critically bad for North Carolina. It's just a recognition that how companies now do business is changing.
And he says what's also not changing, the construction keeps going up as the tech boom continues. Yeah, and just to be clear, the spokesperson for Bandwidth says just because they made this decision, they are still committed to local hires. They also cited the 87 new hires that they made since that agreement was reached. But in the bigger picture, that state economic expert who you just heard from says there are still some creative ways that the state can address remote workers and still keep that money in state. One option, he says, going to lower economic areas, maybe eastern parts of the state, towns like Goldsboro, Kinston, and have incentives for those remote workers or where there's a lower cost of living, so they can still keep that money in state if they remote work at these companies that are setting up shop here in the Triangle. So obviously things looking very different, Steve and Lauren.